হে বঙ্গ ভাণ্ডারে তব বিবিধ রতন, তা সবে অবোধ আমি অবহেলা করি, পরধন লোভে মত্ত করিনু ভ্রমণ, পরদেশে ভিক্ষাবৃত্তি কুক্ষণে আচরি। Great poet of Bengal, Michael Madhusudan Dotto, once said this in his lamentation of a poem Bangabhasha, where he expresses his grief and, as if asking his motherland, Bengal, he says, "Dear Mother Bengal, how could I forget you? How could I forget your language? How could I not understand that your arms are full of gems?" Ignoring that, stupid as I was, I went to foreign lands to learn their language and to beg for their appreciation. The British people never appreciated the great poet and his great work. So he came back and he paid his due respect to his motherland, and he paid his respect to his mother tongue, Bengali. Today we are going to read Karma, a little similar story written by a very good writer, Khushwant Singh. Now, before we go into the story, you must know that Khushwant Singh was not just a writer, he was also a poet, a lawyer, and a journalist, a very good journalist who kept on writing. He was very famous for his feelings expressed in Train to Pakistan. He had seen the division of the country and it moved him greatly. But what people actually enjoy about Khushwant Singh, Singh's writing is his fun-loving, bold way of expressing, whatever he feels in uncovered language, and very smart and witty. There is slapstick comedy, there is a little bit of sarcasm, and if you look at the title today, karma, what is karma? Karma, in English, you may say it easily as what one sows, one reaps. He reaps whatever he has sown. জেসি করনি वैसी भरनी, আমরা যেমন করব কর্মফল আমাদের তেমনই হবে, আমরা তেমনই পাবো। The story is very small and it is very powerful in the way it begins. It is, like most of your stories this year, very, very interesting. I'm talking to the class 11 students of West Bengal Board. Most of your stories are very cinematic, very happening, in their brief arena of space, very happening. This is also like, two or three scenes from a movie that just hits you right where it should. ভারতবর্ষ তখন ব্রিটিশ রুলের অধীনে. India was under the British rule when Khushwant Singh, observes such things happening. Now, before we go into the story, let me tell you in a very simple way how people were back in those days, the Indians, when it was British rule in India for 200 years, like we can broadly divide the then Indians into two broad groups: poor people, rich people. Now, in poor people also, most of the people were illiterate, पढ़ाई नहीं आते थे उनको. तो ये लोग जो थे इनमें ज्यादातर लोग 95% or 98, you might say, percent of people were like cattle. They did not have feelings about, getting the country free. They were not so bold. To them, it did not matter who was ruling as long as they got their food, as long as they got to get some work, as long as they could just survive. This was the story of the poor people, the illiterate people of India. Now, but remember, there was a percentage of poor people also who were conscious that the country was under pain, that India needed freedom, and freedom fighters did come from those grassroots level, of society. Now, when we talk about the rich people, now amongst the rich people, there were two kinds of people. one who were already into government services and they were feeling very peaceful. They loved English and they loved the fact that they had got jobs. Though other people were suffering, the mass was being tortured. They were very happy that we have got jobs, we have got knowledge and money, and we are comfortable. So we don't need India to be free. It's okay. Whoever rules is okay. But there was another group, another sect of people, rich Indians who were wise, who were getting enlightened with Renaissance and everything, and they were rising up and trying to protest and trying to take steps about the country's freedom. Today, we are going to read about specifically one character. His name is Mr. Mohanlal. He is a barrister and a vizier. Who is a vizier? A vizier is a person who holds a very high post in government office. तो ये बहुत ही ऐसा very comfortable एक आदमी है. He's a very comfortable man because he has got a very good job. He's very successful. He has studied in Oxford. He had been to England and stayed 5 years there. So now he's very comfortable and he doesn't want India to get free. In fact, he hates Indians. দেশের লোককে সে দেখতে পারে না, দেশের মানুষকে তার অভদ্র অসভ্য মনে হয়. He thinks India is full of dirt, inefficiency, nothing is all right here. England is so beautiful. Everything is just, tickety boo. Everything is just perfect. You ask for something, you pay for it, you get it. You ask for it, you get it. But in India, people are not cultured, they are barbarians. He's almost feeling like the British people did. And he feels that he doesn't belong here. He belongs there in England. He doesn't belong here. The story begins in a first class waiting room of a railway station where Sir Mohanlal is totally suited booted and he's looking at the mirror in the first class waiting room, and the story begins exactly there. What is he doing? He's talking to the mirror. He's looking at himself and he's adjusting his tie and everything, and there is a flower, a carnation in his buttonhole, and he's looking at the mirror. Now the waiting room mirror was broken. এই ফার্স্ট ক্লাস ওয়েটিং রুমের মানে আয়নাটাও কিন্তু একটা ঘষা আয়না, তার রেড অক্সাইড উঠে এসেছে, এটা ভাঙা. There were marks, there were slices, the mirror was in slices somehow. And Sir Mohanlal looks at it and he does that sound. You mirror, he says, you are like Indians, dirty and inefficient, like Indians you are. Your Indian mirror, you're like Indians. With this story, we are going to read parts because it is very important and we shall enjoy the humor here. Sir Mohanlal looked at himself in the mirror of a first class waiting room at the railway station. The mirror was obviously made in India. The red oxide at its back had come off at several places, and long lines of translucent glass cut across its surface. Sir Mohan smiled at the mirror with an air of pity and patronage. Mirror. এরকম একটা মুখ করে সে হাসছে আয়নার দিকে তাকিয়ে, ফার্স্ট ক্লাস রুমের আয়নার দিকে তাকিয়ে যেটা ভাঙা. You are so very much like everything else in this country. Inefficient, dirty, indifferent. Hey mirror, तुम inefficient हो, किसी काम का नहीं हो. You're dirty. And you're indifferent. तुम्हें कुछ आता जाता नहीं है कि लोग कैसे देखेंगे अपनी चेहरा से. फटा हुआ है. You're broken. You're not of any work. He's talking to the mirror. The mirror smiled back at Sir Mohan. Now, in the story, look how witty, you know. The writer, he says that the mirror is smiling at Sir Mohanlal. Now, mirror, can the mirror smile? Obviously not. It is not a personification. कौन स्माइल कर रहा है मिरर के अंदर से? Who is smiling back? It is Sir Mohanlal's face, his plump face in the mirror which is smiling. Why is it smiling? Because he is looking at himself. লোকটা নিজের দিকে তাকিয়ে হাসছে, তাই তার মনে হচ্ছে মিররটা আমার দিকে তাকিয়ে হাসছে. He is looking at himself. He first looks at the mirror that mirror, inefficient, Indian, dirty, and then he looks at himself and he's so satisfied. নিজেকে দেখে খুব খুশি, Mr. Mohanlal. And he feels that the mirror is telling him all this. The mirror smiled back at Sir Mohan. You are a bit of all right, old chap, it said. Distinguished, efficient, even handsome. That neatly trimmed moustache. Mohanlal is looking at himself and he's thinking, कि, you know, mirror बोल रहा है कि भाई तू तो बंदा तो खास है, you're good, you're efficient. And he looks at himself, yeah, handsome, you're handsome. वो खुद अपने आप से कह रहा है, लेकिन राइटर बोल रहा है कि मिरर बोल रहा है, because his reflection is reflecting his emotions there. Okay, and says your mustache, अरे कितना अच्छा है your mustache, it's very beautiful. The suit from Savile Row with the carnation in the buttonhole. Savile Row is in England. Okay, it's famous for its suitings. So your suit, ये जो तुम्हारा suit है, the suit has been made in Savile Row, and there is a flower, there is a carnation in your buttonhole. फूल है यहाँ. The aroma of eau de cologne, in those days, perfumes were a luxury. India में इतना अच्छा perfume नहीं मिलता था. All of those perfumes used to come from other countries. বাইরের দেশ থেকে আসতো এইসব perfume, যেগুলো আজকে তুমি দেখতে পাচ্ছ, eau de cologne, you will get it anywhere, in any shopping mall. But in those days, those were very rare. So the mirror says, अरे, you're smelling of eau de cologne. अरे वाह, you are really special. Talcum powder? In those days, talcum powder also, was something that you hardly got your hands on in this country. So you're wearing talcum powder? Arey wah. Uh, and scented soap all about you. और अरे खुशबूदार साबुन का भी महक है तुमसे. In those days, people hardly got soaps, and most of the soaps that they got did not have any, scent, any perfume. So you are also wearing, you have bathed in scented soap. You declare, "Arey wah, you're too good." The mirror says to Sir Mohanlal, which is actually what Sir Mohanlal is feeling. Sir Mohanlal through his chest, smoothed his belial tie for the umpteenth time. न जाने कितने बार वो अपना टाई एडजस्ट कर चुका है, लेकिन फिर भी एडजस्ट कर रहा है. हम कब करते हैं? Why, when do we do such a thing? We adjust our dress when we are very conscious, that we are wearing something special. So he was wearing something special. He kept on adjusting his, tie, his belial tie, from England. He glanced at his watch. There was still time for a quick one, and he looked at his watch. अच्छा, time है, drink हो जाए. His mood is like that. Uh, कोई है? So he calls out, জমিদারের মতো আওয়াজ দিচ্ছে, কই है? And the bearer appears. Who is a bearer? বাংলা আমরা বলি দেখবি বেয়ারা. বেয়ারা বলি তো আমরা কফি হাউস বা ওখানে গিয়ে যে যারা তার থাকে হোয়াইট লিভারি পরে থাকে, সাদা রঙের পোশাক এখানে বলা আছে. So the bearer or the boy appears through a gauze curtain and sub what, and he says, ek chota, ordered Sir Mohan, and sank into chair, a keen chair, to drink and ruminate. So he sat down in a chair to do what? He will drink and he will think about things. He's a very sophisticated man, shown sophisticated, and he's just wanting to drink and think, and he doesn't want to, think about common people. कोई आम आदमी होता तो सोचता भाई ट्रेन ट्रेन कब आएगा, कितना देर है, घूमेगा फिरेगा. But that's a common person's attitude. He's an aristocrat, so he's going to sit and think about things. और ये छोटा मोटा चीज ट्रेन वगैरह ये the bearer will think. The bearer will call him when the train appears. So he sits down. Now, we should take a break from Mr. Mohanlal, and we are going to concentrate on the next good thing that happens. The camera, as if it is a film, the camera shifts in the next scene. The camera shifts to the Lady Lal, Mohan Lal ki biwi. Lady Lal is sitting outside, not in the first class waiting room. She's sitting outside where the, luggage is kept. Their luggage is kept. They're piled along the wall. And she's sitting on a steel trunk. You know what a trunk is? In previous days, people used to use, very big suitcase kind of things made of metal, very big chest, we used to call it, or a trunk. those used to keep a lot of things বাংলায় তোরা দেখবি যে বাড়িতে পুরোনো বাড়িতে এই ধরনের ট্রাঙ্ক থাকে মেটেলের ট্রাঙ্ক আগেকার দিনে দিদারা ইউজ করতো যেগুলো দাদুরা ইউজ করতো কোথাও বেড়াতে গেলে a lot of things used to fit so she was sitting on a grey steel trunk and she was having pan she was having betel leaf okay now Lady Lal's description is very beautiful. She's not only sitting on a trunk, she's fanning herself with newspaper. She's fanning herself like this and having her pan, and she's so relaxed. She's fat and she has a dirty white sari with a red border. She's wearing that. She has a diamond, nose ring here or pin, and she's wearing some very nice gold bangles. जिससे ये तो पता चलता है कि she is from a rich family, but her way is not so sophisticated like Mr. Mohanlal. And here she is also called by her name, Lakshmi, not just Mrs. Lal. She's Lakshmi. That's her original name. Now she's a very native kind of a woman. She does not know English. She does not know, she's not educated, and she's very simple. She's waiting, and she was talking. খুব গল্প করতে পছন্দ করে তো বসে বসে ওই বেয়ারার সাথেই গল্প করছে she was talking to the bearer when suddenly Mr. Mohanlal called the bearer went away and she looked at my goodness अब किससे बात करूं अच्छा कुली come and the coolie comes কুলির সাথেই কথা বলছে and she tells the coolie to take her luggage the coolie makes a turban with his whatever a cloth he had and he takes her and she asks where does the janana stop ladies compartment janana compartment कहाँ पर आएगा कहाँ पर रुकेगा and the coolie says not here ekdam at the last the janana compartment comes at the last and right at the end of the platform he says and the coolie flattened his turban coolie মাথার গামছাটাকে flat করে steel trunkটা নিল the coolie takes the steel trunk and the coolie goes and she walks she ambles means to walk very in a very cozy way she ambles about after him she has two things with her she has a brass tiffin carrier and she has a silver beetle leaf case पान का जो केस है वो सिल्वर का है वो जाते हुए एक स्टॉल से पान मसाला वगैरह फिर से खरीद लेती है और चलती है एंड देन दे रीच द प्लेस वेयर द जनाना कंपार्टमेंट कम्स आर द ट्रेन्स वेरी क्राउडेड ऑन दिस लाइन्स शी आस्क्स द कुली এখানে কি খুব ভিড় হয় ট্রেনে these days all trains are crowded but you'll find room in the zanana now the coolie says होती है ना बहुत भीड़ होता है लेकिन जनाना कम खाली है you will get a lot of space there then I might as well get over the bother of eating अच्छा she says भीड़ है it is crowded usually then I better have my lunch I better have my food and what she does is that the coolie sits down on the platform and she has her food and how is the coolie sitting he's sitting on his haunches now what is it to sit on your haunch it is to sit on the balancing yourself on your 2 feet I have drawn a picture of you so that you can understand the meaning of sitting on your haunches look at this picture is it clear uh yeah yeah that's it when you sit with your 2 feet in front and balancing your backside, and this is the coolie. Imagine this is the coolie, and what is he doing? He is drawing. He's drawing on the platform on the dust. धूलों पर छवि आछे धूल के ऊपर वो कुछ ड्राइंग कर रहा है अपने उंगली से और वो बात कर रहा है मिसेस लाल के साथ ओके आर यू ट्रैवलिंग अलोन सिस्टर are you going alone, sister? He asks. He's a little worried, like any man in India would be, No, I'm with my master brother. He's in the waiting room. He travels first class. He's a vizier and a barrister and meets so many officers and Englishmen in the trains. And I'm only a native woman. I can't understand English and I don't know their ways, so I keep to my Janana interclass. She's so humble. Mrs. Lal, she doesn't complain. वो बस इतनी कहती है कि I travel in my interclass Zenana compartment because I am illiterate. I can't understand hi-fi ways of British people. And my husband is a barrister and a vizier. पता है इसीलिए तो वो फर्स्ट क्लास में जाता है और मैं अपना जनाना में जाती हूँ क्योंकि वहां सब बड़े बड़े लोग होते हैं ना बात करते हैं the way they talk যেভাবে ওরা কথা বলে the way they behave with each other I can't understand so I keep to my janana compartment as if it is her wish that she is traveling in the Zenana compartment interclass, whereas her husband alone is traveling in the first class. We can understand how Mohanlal is actually so proud that he does not even consider his wife his own liability, let alone his pride. He considers her somebody who's like a luggage, who has to be taken with the luggage in any class. In fact, his own special luggage goes with him in the first class. Lakshmi chatted away merrily. She was fond of a little gossip and had no one to talk to at home. Now, before that, she has had her क्या क्या खाई उसने लक्ष्मी पहले ही बैठकर खा लेती है शी सिट्स डाउन एंड शी हैज क्रैम्ड चपाटीज विद सम मैंगो पिकल আমের আচার দিয়ে রুটি খেলো অনেকগুলো কোচকানো রুটি ও টিফিন বক্স থেকে বের করে now after having that she is such a lovely sweet village woman that she keeps on sucking the stone of the mango আটিটাও চুষতে থাকছে খাবার পর and after that she throws it away she washes her hands and after washing her hands you can imagine it is sticky because it was mango pickle आम का अचार था तो naturally hands तो dirty होगा what she does she takes her sari and she wipes it in her sari and she wipes her mouth with her sari and then she thanks God भगवान का शुक्र है कि मुझे आज का खाना नसीब हुआ she's very simple but at the same time you will understand the difference between Mr. Mohanlal who is suited booted talcum powder eau cologne all belial tie and all that carnation but the lady is wearing a white sari with a red border but the sari is dirty but her mind is totally clean like a mirror and she's a very simple nice plump fat small but lovely lady now the writer is clarifying a bit लक्ष्मी क्यों बात कर रही है सबसे जो कि थोड़ा छोटे मोटे लोग हैं समाज के जैसे कि बियरर जैसे कि कुली क्यों क्योंकि वो अलाउड नहीं है घर पर किसी भी अपने रिलेटिव को वो बुला नहीं सकते शी इज नॉट अलाउड टू ब्रिंग एनी रिलेटिव टू अर हाउस बिकॉज मिस्टर मोहनलाल डज नॉट अलाउ इट ही इज द हस्बैंड but he never allows any relative of hers to come why because they are illiterate ওভাবে ওর ওয়াইফ ইলিটারেট অশিক্ষিত তার আত্মীয় স্বজন অশিক্ষিত তারা ওর বাড়ি এলে হবে না nobody is allowed so she feels very lonely at home she loves chatting she loves talking but she has nobody to talk to at home and how is the family life Mohanlal lives in the ground floor of the house and he does his work and the lady lives on the first floor Mohanlal almost lives totally separate. At night, he visits. He visits his wife for 4 or 5 minutes. And what does he do? Do there? He speaks in anglicized Hindi. हिंदी तो बोलता है वो लेकिन एंग्लिसाइज्ड हिंदी जैसे कि उसे हिंदी आता नहीं हो ए इधर आओ Pani lao, kana lao. The way that, foreigners often speak English, but they do not do it intentionally. It is their mother tongue pulling at our mother tongue. उन्हें हिंदी नहीं आती है but Mohanlal does it because he loves English so much that he wants to present himself as an Englishman. That is why he speaks Hindi in anglicized way. মানে ইংলিশদের মতো করে হিন্দি বলে anglicized Hindustani or Hindi he speaks and because he does not live with his wife properly in a way that a conjugal life is supposed to happen they do not have any children কোনো বাচ্চা কাচ্চা হয়নি why because he visits her only for 4 to 5 minutes and when he visits her he is just so disgusted with her all he does is he orders her about. And she's like the mother in our own houses, mothers who are in the kitchen all the time and working, with the smell of garlic and all that coming from their body. She's also like that. She's sweaty. She's a little bit of, smelling of spices and garlic and all that. And he hated it. He hated her for that. And he did not pay her any attention. He just ordered her. And she obeyed his orders, not actively. আনন্দের সাথে ওবে করতো না। রাতে গিয়ে যখন ওকে এটা ওটা করতে বলতো, প্যাসিভলি, নিরুত্তেজ ভাবে ওর কথা শুনতো, ওর হাজবেন্ডের কথা। কারণ ও জানে আমার হাজবেন্ড ভালোবাসা তো দূরের কথা, ভালো মানে অপছন্দ করে, আমাকে ভালো লাগে না আমার হাজবেন্ডের। মাই হাজবেন্ড ডাজ নট লাভ মি, মাই হাজবেন্ড ডাজ নট লাইক মি, ইনফ্যাক্ট মাই হাজবেন্ড হেটস মি। She knew that and she was happy that she was married to this very big person. Okay, now what happens? The signal came down and the clanging of the bell announced the coming of the train. Now where was Sir Mohanlal? He was sitting still and having his scotch. So the bearer came and announced, sir, your train has come. And he said, okay, take my luggage. Now, in this page, it is said, in a very proper way that he doesn't run. মানুষ ট্রেনে এলে কি করে, ট্রেন এসে গেছে চলো উঠি, there is a hustle and bustle among normal people, but he doesn't do that. He's very sophisticated. He doesn't run because that shows that you are uncultured. He walks with a studied gait, very, very studied. ठीक है. Sea Beach Devanand, we used to call our old hero Devanand, the person who knew exactly how to, walk by a sea beach or in a scene, looking like a hero. So he was walking like a hero. In the meantime, what happened is that the coolie with Lady Lal, they entered the compartment. Lady Lal was so fat, she had a lot of trouble to just, climb the door of the compartment and push through it. But she went inside Janana compartment, ekdam khali tha. She sat on a, on a side, just with a window to her, and she had two betel leaves inside, do gale pan puliye, and she started eating, and she gave the coolie 2 आनाज। तब के जमाने में 2 आने का बहुत मोल था, आजकल नहीं है। 2 आनाज she gave the coolie and she said, okay, ciao bhaiya, it's okay. And the coolie went happily away, and she sat there, with her hands on the of this window of the compartment, and she was looking outside. এইসব চলছে when what was happening there? This was happening here with Lady Lal when Mohanlal was slowly walking, and he was thinking, I hope that in my compartment there are a lot of British people. I just hope there are a lot of people all talk in, very, very accented English of England, and they are going to love it. And they are going to ask me, Are, how do you know so good English? And your clothes are from Britain? Acha, Savile Row. Are your tie, isn't that Balliol tie? Acha, you have been to Oxford. यही तमन्ना था मिस्टर मोहनलाल का, कि ऐसे जमा कर बैठेंगे ट्रेन में, फर्स्ट क्लास में ऐसे जमा कर बैठेंगे, और हाथ में इंग्लैंड का पेपर होगा, न्यूज़पेपर इंग्लैंड का, द टाइम्स लेकर ऐसे बैठेंगे जैसे कि हम किसी को कुछ दिखा नहीं रहे हैं, ऐसे बैठेंगे कि क्रॉसवर्ड पजल कर रहे हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पर टाइम्स लिखा होगा, द टाइम्स, ताकि जो कोई मेरे सामने बैठे उसे पता चले कि मैं द टाइम्स न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ा हूँ, यानी कि इंग्लैंड का न्यूज़पेपर सो मैं पढ़ा लिखा हूँ, एंड आई एम अ वेरी कल्चर्ड मैन, सो दैट पर्सन विल से द टाइम्स, अच्छा, can I have it for a minute, please? Anybody sitting in front of me, he thinks that is going to be attracted by the newspaper, and that person will ask, Sir, please, can I, because after a while of doing crossword puzzle, he will, do an acting of, चलो हो गया, पढ़ लिए न्यूज़पेपर, और ऐसे ही बाजू में रख देंगे, ताकि कोई जो सामने है वो मांगे वो न्यूज़पेपर. So he had everything planned out, okay? He had some steps, because all that he wanted was to have a show off. ফার্স্ট ক্লাস কম্পার্টমেন্টে ও যে যাচ্ছে, ও কিন্তু টোটাল শো অফ করার জন্য যাচ্ছে, দেখাতে যাচ্ছে যে ওখানে নিশ্চয়ই ব্রিটিশ পিপল থাকবে। তখনকার দিনে হিন্দুদের তো এত টাকা ছিল না, ইন্ডিয়ানদের এত টাকা ছিল না, to travel by first class, and so he was going to show off. Whoever was the compartment, his co-passenger, he was going to show off. The first trick that he had on his mind, obviously, was the Times newspaper. Plan number one, Times newspaper, is one thing that definitely others will notice and they will ask to read it, and that's how conversation will begin. Otherwise, perhaps someone would recognize his burial tile, which he always wore while traveling. अगर टाइम्स न्यूज़पेपर फेल हो गया, प्लान टू बेलियल टाई पहन कर आया है ऑक्सफोर्ड का, कोई किसी को भी दिखेगा तो वो बोलेगा अरे ये बेलियल टाई है. So from there he can, slowly and slowly, yeah, I've been to Oxford, I studied there for a long time. Okay, so the thing will go there, the conversation will go there. Leading That could open a vista leading to a fairy land of Oxford colleges, masters, dons, tutors, boat races, rugger matches. क्या क्या नहीं हुआ था इंग्लैंड में. वो एक्साइटिंग लाइफ फिर से वो रिविजिट कर पाएगा किसी से अगर वो बात कर पाए इस विषय पर. If both the Times and the tie fail, Sir Mohan would coy his bearer to get the scotch out. अगर बेलियल टाई और टाइम्स दो प्लान फेल हो गया, थर्ड प्लान है, अचानक से वो बोलेगा कोई है, ताकि बियरर आके स्कॉच निकाले. तो सामने जो भी लोग होंगे, अगर एक या दो कोई भी हो, the person can say, अच्छा scotch, you have scotch here, can I have a little bit? And obviously he will offer. If it is an Englishman, Mr. Lal would offer. Had it been an Indian, he wouldn't mind. But if it is an Englishman, oh, he's such a fan of English people. English people जैसे उनके लिए gods हैं. तो अगर Englishman होगा तो वो उन्हें थोड़ा अपना स्कॉच से शेयर करके देंगे जरूर. Then followed Sir Mohan's handsome gold cigarette case filled with English cigarettes. English cigarettes in India? How on earth did he get them? Sure, he didn't mind. And so Sir Mohan's understanding smile. Of course he didn't. But could he use the Englishman as a medium to commune with his dear old England? तो इसके बाद वाला फोर्थ प्लान जो है वो है एक गोल्डन सिगरेट केस, जो कि जब भी वो निकालता है सब लोग प्रेज करते हैं. सो ही हैड इट इन माइंड दैट इफ all the three plans failed and the person traveling with him still did not talk to him, then obviously after he took out his gold cigarette case, that person will definitely talk to him. And most often they would ask, can I have a cigarette, English cigarette, yeah, please please. और वो बोलेगा हाँ जरूर ये लीजिए. He had everything planned out. Why? Because all he wanted to do, the reason he was traveling first class was to meet another Englishman and impress them. He wanted to talk about England. He wanted to talk about the races, the college, the life, the blazers, even the prostitute area of Piccadilly. He had enjoyed everything there. And he thought that the 5 years, here it is said that the 5 years he had spent there, those 5 years of grey bags and gowns of sports blazers and mixed doubles of dinners at the Inns of Court and nights at Piccadilly, 5 years of a crowded, glorious life worth far more than the 45 in India. 45 in India, Mr. Mohanlal has stayed in India and studied, but 5 years he spent in England, he considers are his best, years. So, what is the age of Sir Mohanlal? Sir Mohanlal is exactly 50 years old, but that line there proves that for him, the 5 years that she had spent in England are to him much more important than 45 years he spent in his motherland, India. He hates India so much that he hates all the time that he has spent here. Okay. He hates what? He hates dirty, vulgar countrymen. Deshvasi, he considers them dirty and they are vulgar. They are not sophisticated like him. They are not social in the right way, he thinks. With sordid details of the road to success. জীবনে সফলতা কি করে পেয়েছে? খুব 2 নম্বরই করে. Bad ways that he has used to gain success in this country. Of nocturnal visits to the upper story and obese old Lakshmi smelling of sweat and raw onions. And he hates to think of his wife who is fat, who is obese. He hates her. Even to think कि रात को 4-5 मिनट के लिए मोटी लक्ष्मी के पास जाना पड़ता है. She's so fat as she smells of sweat, ghamer গন্ধ তার গা থেকে, of sweat, perspiration, and onions. As I told you, onions, he smells onions in her, and he hates it. He's so clean and he thinks he's just so fine, that she's just too raw and vulgar for him, and he hates even to think of her. Now, after this, we see that Sir Mohanlal is waiting in his compartment. The bearer has kept the things and he's looking out of the window and he's trying to see whether there is somebody coming. Why? क्योंकि उसको जाकर दिखा के कंपार्टमेंट में बस वही है, एसी फर्स्ट क्लास में बस वही है, कोई नहीं है और तो वो डिवास्टेटेड हो गया, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है, देयर शुड बी समबडी ट्रैवलिंग विथ मी, अदरवाइज माय एंटायर जर्नी इज जस्ट स्पॉइल्ड, if there is no Englishman, what will I do, who will I talk to? সবকিছু তো প্ল্যান করে রেখেছে, এই হবে ওই হবে, ওকে দেখে ইমপ্রেসড হবে, if he doesn't get anybody to impress, his travel is just meaningless. His travel is just meaningless. He needs to meet somebody. और ऐसे में उसे देखा दूर से प्लेटफॉर्म में दो सोल्जर्स आ रहे थे. कैंटोनमेंट था, soldiers. He thought he might get some officers, but all he saw were two soldiers with bags, rucksacks, and all that, baggages. And they were walking in a little sauntering way. Actually, দুজনেই drunk ছিল. Both the soldiers were drunk. Okay, it was a cantonment area, and where the garrisons and the army are posted usually. So those two soldiers were coming. Sir Mohanlal thought that if they come, and even if they did not have any ticket for first class, they will not have ticket for first class because they are to travel second class. अगर उनके पास टिकट ना भी हो तो गार्ड को पैसे खिलाकर इन लोगों को वो उठा लेंगे कि आ जाओ, यू आर ब्रिटिश, आ जाओ. He's ready to do that for British people. Okay, he's ready to take them in his compartment. But when the story unfolds, গল্প অন্যদিকে ঘুরে গেল. মোহনলাল ওয়েট করছিল ব্রিটিশ যাতে আসে কিছু, সে যাতে নিজের কালচার শো করতে পারে. It turned around 180-degree. What happened? When the soldiers came, and one soldier was called Bill and one soldier was called Jim. And Jim says, "Hey Bill," he shouted, "one here. Hey Bill, aa jao. एक है यहाँ जगह है." It was Sir Mohanlal's compartment. Mohanlal was sitting on one side, and on the other side there was place. And he says, "Here is one." And what happens? I'll tell you a little, in a brief way. ये दो सोल्जर्स आके देखते हैं, अरे एक इस तरफ है कोई, देयर इज अ पर्सन, you get out, you come out. And they entered the compartment, and Sir Mohanlal is like, hello and all that, and they're like, oh come on, what are you saying, get out of here, nigger, you nigger. They call him a black person. They just blurt out, swearing words, and they throw him, they manhandle him, they throw his flask and his luggage on the platform. And Mohanlal is so stunned and he's livid. মুখ লাল হয়ে গেছে রাগে. His face has turned red with rage and he's saying, preposterous, preposterous, you can't do this, I'll call the god. And in his very, very, Queen's English, होता है ना इंग्लैंड का तब के ज़माने का इंग्लिश तो बहुत ही क्वींस इंग्लिश था एकदम बड़ा बड़ा शब्द pronounced with the right kind of accents, as you say. And he was doing that, preposterous, preposterous, I'll call the guard, guard, guard. And he was calling the guard. Where's the guard? There's no guard. And Bill and Jim क्या करते हैं उसको उठाकर literally, they knock him on his face, they strike him, and they throw him on the platform, and he trips on his bags and he lands there, and he is looking while the train begins to move. আস্তে আস্তে ট্রেন চলে যাচ্ছে. All the lights are flashing by. Mohanlal is standing there, and in the last compartment, the Zanana compartment, sits Lady Lal, जिनको ये पता भी नहीं कि उनका बहुत ही अच्छा जो cultured husband है, British kind of husband है, vizier husband है, वो प्लेटफॉर्म में खड़ा है with his red face and stunned look because he can't believe what has just happened to him. And the train just, with its lights and its sound, করতে করতে ট্রেন বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছে প্ল্যাটফর্ম থেকে. When the train leaves the platform and goes a little way, Mohanlal's wife Lakshmi, who was sitting, with her mouth full with the, spit of the beetle leaf, পানের পিক ফেলবে wait করছিল. She was waiting with the pan in her, mouth. She spits, and the bubble, the spit just, the train is moving this way. So naturally, the spit travels backward like an arrow towards the station, and that is exactly where the story ends. Now, why is it called karma? कर्मा मीन्स कर्म फल, यानी कि आप जैसा करोगे आपको वैसा ही मिलेगा, किस्मत आपको वैसा ही कुछ दिन दिखाएगा. Mohanlal sees that. Mohanlal thought very poorly of his country and his countrymen. He hated Indians and he praised the British people. In his eyes, an England born person is like a god. What happens at the end? His gods throw him out. His gods insult and slap him and throw him into the platform, showing him his place. We just hope his illusion is shattered. We just hope that he understands that he was actually having a daydream. He's supposed to realize that he's an Indian. He's supposed to love his country. He's supposed to love whoever he is, wherever he is born. He's supposed to feel his roots. Lakshmi, on the other hand, who is a very good natured lady, travels peacefully in her empty Janana compartment. It is an interclass compartment, but it is respectfully and very comfortably that she travels, having her fun and enjoying the view, while Sir Mohanlal is still standing there on the platform thinking where he went wrong. The story ends here, children. It's just, I think a very striking story. Very briefly, Khushwant Singh has pointed to us how futile it is to love something that is not your own, how futile it is to worship something and think highly of others and having poor esteem of yourself or of your surrounding or your mother tongue or your own culture. First, we must learn to respect, cherish, and value whatever we have, wherever we find ourselves, whatever is around us. Then we can learn and try to love the far off things. Okay, love your mother tongue, speak in your mother tongue, learn more of your native languages, learn other languages too, but do not esteem them, try not to esteem them more than you love your own culture. With that note, we come to the end of this class. If you have any questions, what are you going to do? You ask it here in the comment box. I'll answer. Or those of you who are doing classes with me in WhatsApp can ask me there as well. And do tell me how you like the story. Bye for today.